All right, hopefully by now you guys have a better understanding of, I guess, the workings of tracks, why we use it, how it's used. You can see it working within a worship context, and hopefully you see it working within your context. Let's take a bit of a deep dive into the technicals behind it. How is it set up, JP? What are you using here? How have you set up your session? Take us through it.
That's right. We're getting into the nitty-gritty now of what we're using. I should say this is what this is a version of what we use at our Hills campus and for our conferences. But every one of our campuses will have a bit of a different setup. Some of them use Ableton, some of them use MultiTracks. Some of them might be, like we mentioned before, it might be fired from the SPD, it might be a keys player running tracks, or it might be off stage like what we do here at Hills.
So you use this particular Novation MIDI keyboard.
Yep.
Now, why this one? I can see it offers a good amount of flexibility.
Yep.
You want to talk us through that?
So like we talked about before, we started by identifying our priorities, exactly like what you talked about. I'm not saying that you need to use this keyboard at all. Just what we had looked for was we like the keyboard for being able to fire different things. As you can see here, we've got things like Ambience. These are just Ambience loops that we use. Some guys in our team make them and they're great. So we've got one in each key that we can use for whatever key we're going in. So that was really important to us, something that had enough keys to be able to do that stuff. The way we've got it set up is we do our praise and worship set we would have here. We've got song 1 to 7, a few, however we program the set. Something else that we have is, because we often will do, say on a Sunday night, we might do a few praise songs at the end of the night. Often that might be less than rehearsed. As in, we might be deciding on the fly what song we're doing. So we've literally mapped out, I can show you.
Best friend, come alive. Echoes.
We've literally got pretty much all of our recent praise songs ready at the tap of a button.
Man, does that cue voice get annoying to you?
Not at all. Not at all. I could listen to it all day. So that was one thing that was important for us. One thing as well is we talked about how we treat tracks like a musician in the band. And so we wanted to be able to control different things of what we're sending, not just a master volume or an on and off. So for us, having a good amount of faders was really important for us. So say if we're doing, what should we do? Say we're doing World Outside.
3, 4.
We can control, let me get to a big part of the song. So we can control the percussion, which I think you can hear that. There's the leads, layers, vocals, bass, and then our click and cue. So like we've talked about before, we want to be able to be flexible and I guess work like a musician in the band. So for us to be able to control those individual layers as well as having a master fader.
I love that, because those are the layers that more often than not won't happen live on stage.
That's right. Yeah, these are all the things that I guess aren't being done by the live team. Say we do, we were talking about Beautiful Name before, say you do a drum bridge or a drum chorus or something like that. I want to be able to control, keep the tambourine in, maybe keep the choir in, but pull out the rest of the band.
Now, if you have a great tambourine player at your church, then you would leave the percussion off,
the unsung hero of the worship world.
Okay.
So for us, being able to control each layer that we're sending to the audio team was a big factor for us. And then as well, we've got a lot of controls here so that we can control transitions really easily. Say if we want to give you you just say, give me a click. That'll go to whatever time signature we're going. There's no accent, but then as soon as we want to bring in the accent, as you can see here, we've got clicks ready in every single time signature. So say we're going, okay, just give me a click. You might count in a 6/8 song and I'll follow your count in, and there we go. Now we're in 6/8. So for us, that was a huge part of being able to, I guess, have quick control over transitions of, okay, you just need a click, here's a click. We want ambience.
So flexibility is key here, right?
Key.
My gosh.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to set this up?
Well, I guess we did it over time. So, I
I
think
just
you can
don't
see
want
it
this
over
to
there.
be intimidating to anyone
No.
who's just embarking on the Tracks journey. You gotta understand, we've been doing this for many years now.
That's right. That's right. And like, I don't know if you can see, but right next to you, we've got a smaller keyboard. That's what we used for months at a time, where it was literally a budget thing. We didn't have the budget to buy something big like this, but that was much cheaper. So we had that, used that for a while, and then learned as well what our priorities are and I guess how to make that happen and where there was limitations. There were times when we'd go, we'd encounter something like I said, where, hey, we just want the strings in now. We don't want everything else. And not being able to have that level of control affected how we set up our rig. So for us, those are some huge things. Outside of, say, the controller, we're off stage at Hills. We're by the monitor desk so that we can see from the Tracks rig, we can see you, we can see the worship leader. But as well, we've got a microphone. So that goes, I guess, just to the band. Say we're doing something and in rehearsal, I say, hey, can you give us 10 seconds to change the key of a song? I'll jump on mic and tell you that. So then when you go to count in a song, the tracks aren't there and you're going, what's going on? And then all of a sudden we've wasted and interrupted the flow of rehearsal. So for us, being able to communicate with you is a really big deal.
Oh, I think it's so important.
So we've designed it that way. Now, some people, we've built it with flexibility in mind, but for some settings, you might rely a lot more on things like MIDI cues to program your lighting or your screen media or Pro Presenter, all those things. If that's a priority for your setting, then design the rig that way and look at, identify your priorities and then design the rig to do what you need it to do. For us, flexibility was a huge thing. As well, we've got different people using the rig every day. Every Sunday, it might be me, it might be Trish or Esther or some of our team. And so we wanted it to be really consistent. So we kind of all worked together and go, okay, what's the best way that this works for you? Okay, how do you usually do it? So rather than it being set up to the way that, let's say, I want it, I go, what's going to be something that's the most consistent that any of our team can walk in and I guess be able to deliver the same result. We don't want a different result if I'm on versus if someone else is on. We want everyone to be equipped well to do that.
And I think if you don't have a setup like this or like a keyboard like that, we saw the small keyboard. I think I think the non-negotiables would be to be able to control obviously start, stop, click, cue, and maybe a group band sound.
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of people will be using something like MultiTracks for that, where you might you might be MDing and you've got an iPad and you're doing tracks as the MD. If that's the setting, then work out what you need to do. Like you said, I'd work with your audio team as to what they need in their channels, whether we're working with, I think, 14 audio channels.
Yeah, and it took us a while to firstly get that infrastructure in place within our setup, and also to get to a point where you have someone operating off stage. Often, like you said, it was fired by the drummer. They hit an SPD. They're playing and they can't be controlling levels or layers. It was the drummer, it was our keys players have to do that. And that's a lot for the musos on stage to do that. So it's taken us a while to get to this point. Yeah.
And if that's your setting, if, say, the MD or one of the musicians is running it while they're also playing, then you probably are not going to want something this complex and with this much fine control, because you just can't do everything while you're playing guitar. You might just have to have a start and stop pedal from your pedal board, or the keyboard player might just be able to press play.
Yeah.
So I guess
okay.
That's okay. Yeah. So figure out what you're working with, what your priorities are, and I guess work backwards from that.
Wonderful. Do you want to talk us through quickly the session you've got on your computer?
Yes,
now,
the Ableton.
That's Ableton?
Yeah, that's right.
So we run Ableton. Now, there are other platforms like MultiTracks?
Yeah, some of our campuses actually use MultiTracks. For us, with the resources that they have, maybe there's, that, like I said, they're firing it.
And when we say
stage.
MultiTracks, we're talking about the
playback app.
Playback app within
That's right.
MultiTracks, yes.
Because it gave more level of flexibility. That's really important for us, but with less need to be hands-on. So that's a huge improvement for what we were working with. But like you said, at Hills and at our conferences, we're using Ableton. What I'll just do a quick maybe talk through.
Please do, yeah.
What we do. We run ours in session mode. I know a lot of people run it in arrangement, and that's great. I don't particularly think there's one better than the other. For us, we happen to use session view because of some of the things that it offers us. Our click, like you mentioned, is we use a MIDI click. The reason for that is because rather than an audio click, we don't have to worry about if the level's the same every time. We can control our time signatures really easily. What you'll see is we've got a list of, about 50 songs that are our current songs, kind of ready to go. We intentionally don't have our entire catalog on there just because the computers would crash every 2 minutes if we did. So we try to keep it, as flexible as we need. So we've got the songs that might come up on the fly. We've got them split up in scenes. So say Alive here, we would split them up in arrangement mode, bring them back and have a new scene for each section of the song. So if we play the intro, let's say the chorus, and what we do for that is on each clip, down at the bottom left corner, you'll see follow actions. So basically what happens is once that section plays, it plays the next one. We've got it set up that way, just works for us. With trial and error, that's what's been a big win for us. The way that we run our ambience, we use 2 ambient sounds. We use Aura 2 by the Bottega guys, and
Lovely ambience, by the way.
I'm gonna forget exactly what it is, but I believe it's OB2 ambient pads, Peter James Productions. You can get both of them on MultiTracks. That's just what we use. They're guys on our team. How we have them is we've got them set up on a drum rack. So we've got each note as a different ambience loop for each key. I hope you can hear that. They all have a fade in, so you'll see that. And then what we've done, as you can see here, is we've set them up all on the same choke channel.
So while you're doing that, why is ambience important? Like I see it as like the glue,
It's mostly for transitions. So let's say say if you've only got one keyboard player, they might need to change from an organ sound to a piano sound. That's quite, even for a great keyboard player, that's, making that seamless. It's a lot of things happening. And so we went, well, we're over here, we're side of stage, we can give you some ambience, and that just is one less thing for the keys player to think about.
Fantastic.
And again, it's because we're sending it through our tracks channel, it means that our audio team can have the piano level from the keys player at a certain level. They can dial in the ambience separately, rather than if the piano player is firing ambience, then you kind of can't really control the blend of the two. Literally it was trial and error. One day we went, hey, what if we did ambience from tracks? And the rest is history. Part of the tracks role is, I guess, filling in some of the gaps that the live team can't do. So things like percussion, a shaker, a tambourine shake is such a huge part of, it can be such a big contributor to the mix. You don't really notice it ever, but when it's there, that last final chorus, getting a big tambourine shake can make a real big difference in the mix. So what we've done is for 4/4, for 6/8, and for 3/4 time signatures.
You've created a bit of a library.
We've got a few different percussion loops available, I guess, for those different time signatures. So saying 4/4, I'll just dial the click back a bit. We've got a shaker, a little bit of a backbeat on this one. Cool. There you go, the backbeat on the 4. We also have an effect swell. So let's say we go 4, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Wonderful.
So again, that's if, say, we're doing a song that we don't have tracks for, maybe a classic hymn or something like that, just to kind of give that.
Everything you're saying points to the fact that you're a good muso with an ear to hear things, and I think it's
hopefully. That's the goal. That's what we're here to do.
Well, so I'd like to encourage, I think it's a very important role rather than just throwing anyone up there.
I think so, yeah.
Like, we don't throw anyone up on stage as well,
Yeah. If you're being asked to help with tracks at your church, take it and own it. Like, and everything that we've shown you in these 3 parts, I know we're just scratching the surface. We're not experts at it. I know there's a million other things that you can do. And so I guess take it as far as you can. Sink yourself into it. Like, you want to bring your best as an offering of worship.
Yeah.
I think of it the same thing, and I'd encourage you to do the same thing. See how far you can go, see how far you can take it in a way that serves what you're doing.
Wonderful. I think you've covered it really well right there, and hopefully that inspires you to maybe take your tracks setup and use of it to the next level in your own congregation. Thanks for watching.
Yeah.
God bless.
Go well.